Hello and welcome to Comics Unlimited podcast. Today we're going to talk about what's a comic book shop and what is a pop culture boutique. Do you guys know? Let's check it out.
Welcome to the Comics Unlimited podcast with your hosts, Glenn B. Fleming and Ted Davis.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? My name is Ted Davies. I am an artist and author, best known for my books Retrieve and Grim 101, and this publication that we make with this gentleman right next to me. How you doing, man?
How are you doing, Ted? You okay?
Good.
I'm Glenn Fleming. I'm a writer, artist, and publisher, and I produce that wonderful magazine along with my friend Tony Ingram and Ted Davis. Yeah, number 12 is just about done, coming out in a week or so. You'll be able to find that on Amazon, along with all the rest of them.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll show the cover too on our social media. If you guys are checking out, if you're on the audio podcast, check us out on YouTube. You can see us in full color and live video. Well, kind of recorded video. This is always recorded now, but we've got a couple things. Let's talk about Cashman's Comics real quick. Cashman's is our sponsor in Bay City, Michigan. Check out everything that John's doing in comics in Bay City. Say hi to Petey the guard dog if you're there. If you're looking on the website, he'll anything you purchase, he'll ship worldwide as long as you pay for the product and the purchasing of the shipping. Excuse me, purchasing. Okay. Also, you can find Comics Unlimited. Let me get the banner up here on Glenn B. Yeah. Tell him, Glenn. Tell him, Glenn.
It's on my page on Amazon, Glenn B. Fleming page, and you can get all is it? I can't remember now. It's 11. I'm getting.
Yeah, it is.
11th issue, 11 issues, and a couple of other things of mine on there as well.
It's crazy. We also have the ebook version of that too, so you can also get the
all on ebook,
copy.
all in hard copy as well.
That's right. So you can check all that out. Today we're going to be talking about. I know it's kind of a passionate thing, maybe that you and I have talked about. We've debated and gone through comic books, the way we grew up, and then whether it's this side of the pond or that, and pop culture boutiques is what I call them, because a lot of comic shops now, just because of the situation that they're in financially, they have to diversify and they've got to bring in other stuff. The pop, Funko Pops and other books, graphic novels, variant covers, what else? Toys, any type of
merchandising,
merchandise, big time. Which I have no problem with. The one of the things that we talked about, if you haven't checked it out on other recordings that we've done here and other videos, Glenn's got an issue with a lot of you going to the Forbidden Planets and that type of thing, going in and just not seeing anything that's even recognizable anymore.
Yeah,
right?
As it's well documented, I have a lot of issues on a lot of things, but I'm just sort of disappointed in the way that I went into Forbidden Planet a few weeks ago, and it's on two levels, on a ground level and a basement. And you walk on the ground level from the street, and it's huge. It's huge, this place, but it's all full of models. And when I say models, I mean merchandising and statues of Batman and all this kind of stuff. Models of them, figurines and all that kind of thing, which surely has its place. But there's too much. Let's say not too much of that. Not enough comics. Because they go downstairs into my Forbidden Planet and it's got comics, but they're not. I'm not saying they should just cater for me, but I think they should cater for everyone. And there used to be some great graphic novels down there, some collected pieces like 2000 AD and all that, Judge Dredd and all that stuff. And they're still there, but there'll be 2 or 3 of them, and there's rows and rows of manga. Manga's great. And it obviously is a seller because there's a lot of it in there. But for me, when I go in there, I don't buy the new comics, and that's well documented. And I think they should be catering for everybody. They don't seem to be catering for me. They don't seem to want my pound or my dollar.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff I look for. Even stuff like the volumes of Mobius and people like that, they weren't there either.
Do they have like dollar bins? Like,
no,
do they have like old stuff back?
No,
nothing really.
Those no.
You might have to get another shop. It sounds
there isn't.
like.
Well, there isn't one. That's the part of this program. That's the point of it. There's a shop round the corner from there called Traveling Man, which is very much smaller concern, and that has stuff in it. But even so, that's been taken over by the merchandising and all this kind of stuff again. And I walk in and I don't recognize anything.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because there's still a lot of stuff I want to collect or at least see.
Yeah.
And I can't get that stuff now. So maybe it doesn't sell. I don't know. That's probably the reason, because like you said earlier, it's all about money. It's all about turning money.
I think it does sell. I mean, you know, it depends on if you're a collector, or it depends on your era too. I mean, you are just not finding the newer stuff to be appealing. I mean, you like the older art, you know, we've talked about that in the past. I know as friends with quite a few local comic book shop owners in that, and what they've got to do. I mean, the supply and demand. I've got one friend of mine that is all he sells is old stuff. That's it. He only sells silver, bronze. I mean, silver and bronze is like a big. Silver is his main thing, and he's running out of things to sell.
Yeah.
So he's getting to the point he's had to move in pop culture things and try to kind of fill that void. But really, he's got you in mind as far as your market share, your dollar or your pound, whatever, you know.
Except that he's 4,000 miles away from me.
Well, and that's fine, but it's irrelevant really when it comes down to it, because we're global. We're a global economy. We think locally, but we are global. So you could get on eBay, you could get wherever, and you could purchase what you want. But it's different than going through it and looking at it and actually,
like,
taking it out of the bag. And
it's like everything. Everything has to move along. I understand that, and everything does move along. And I'm not saying the world should stop for me, but I just think it's very sad because, for example, when I went into Forbidden Planet, the other week, they used to have at least 2 rows of Cerebus graphic novels.
Sure.
And they're not there now. So I can't believe that something like Cerebus doesn't sell.
Do you think somebody came in and bought them all? I mean,
I've got no idea. Maybe they did, but why have they not refilled the shelf quickly? And I mean, I'm not a big Cerebus fan, but I do enjoy the artwork. But what I'm saying is that in its day, I think it was one of the best-selling comics, wasn't it, Cerebus, when it picked up?
I think it was, yeah.
And I would have thought they would have been eager to keep the new people coming in, the kids coming in of that kind of quality.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be a lot more throwaway. I know comics have always been throwaway item, but more so. But I think it's to do with everything. Like everything it's to do with everything. To do with technology. Kids are on their phones now. You never see a kid with a comic now. You might read them on his phone, but everybody's got a phone. There's a 4-year-old next door to me. He's got a phone. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
But that's the sign of the times.
Are they reading comics on their phone? Maybe. I mean,
probably looking at something else. I don't know.
Right. The one of the nice things about Cashman's comics, for example, is he has newer stuff that comes out, obviously, and they're on the walls. So he's got all the new stuff. All right. He's got DC and everything, Dark Horse, you name it, and it's Marvel. But he's also got the back issues, and most of the back issue stuff is, I mean, everything's right underneath it, and it's all long boxes, and you can go to town, and it's all different prices. He's got some that are dollar bins, some 50 cents, whatever. And then he's got other ones that are more select. And then you've got the premium ones, the ones that you're really looking for as well, in a smaller rack. But he really caters towards that type of collector, if you want to call it that. I don't know if it's a collector is the right word anymore. Well, there's collecting, and then there's enjoying and reading. Collecting is such a broad term now. I don't know, but I enjoy, I enjoy finding maybe like a Funko Pop of Hellboy or something that's unique, to the the whole idea of Hellboy, that kind of stuff. But I don't like, or I've got action figure or something like that. But I don't go out and search for the statues, right? So there's a certain limit to what I'm willing to invest in on that. But knowing from where a lot of these local shops are, they have to diversify because their margins are so small. Unless you've got a variant cover, like we talked about off camera, some of them that are just made for that local comic shop, you know, you got to pay for artists, you got to do all this stuff and licensing and all this other garbage. And it's their margins. Some are very, you know, kitsch. They've got to have that. That's what they make their margins on, not the weekly comics. The Funko Pops, these specialized deals, they have to have it because you can only get it there or whatever the case is. I'm just throwing it out there as an example. And this is where it gets lost, because I think that I like buying comics that are not slabbed or raw so that I can read them. You know, that's part of what we talk about here. And I think that you just don't have the right store in your area. I think that there are plenty of stores that would cater. I know that you're going to be traveling here to the States this fall. We're going to go to a couple of those shops. I'm going to show you, hey, here you go. And maybe what we'll do is we'll just get a short box together, and you just start putting stuff in, just buying stuff, and we'll ship it back to the UK for you.
I've told Helen I'm taking 5 suitcases, and only one will have clothes in.
Right. Hey, you can buy clothes here, whatever. But I think that's the rub. I mean, when it comes down to it, you might just not have that. And,
yeah, well, the only time I see long boxes are at conventions. They don't have the long boxes in there. It's all new stuff. But what I have noticed going in there recently is I think the thing that they're trying to appeal to such as me with are these volume things that cost 150 quid.
Yeah, and the omnibuses.
Steve Ditko collected. Now, I'd love to buy all those Kirby artist editions and Bolland, and who wouldn't want those?
Sure,
but they're all at least £100.
Yeah. I mean, you can find them at Amazon. You can go on all kinds of sites.
Even though I don't, in Forbidden Planet, it doesn't really cater for me. I could still go in there this afternoon and spend 1,000 quid.
Sure.
On those kind of volumes, and I would like to do that, obviously, but that's a lot of money. But if I had it, I would do.
That was one thing that I was listening to Kayfabe a couple of days ago, and they had a show that they did, and they were talking about how it was so hard to find the books now that are in omnibus form. You couldn't find the comic books when we were kids, and you looked and you looked and you couldn't find them because people would just be collecting them and they wouldn't sell them. Now we've got everything at our fingertips, literally. I mean, digitally. I mean, it's incredible. I think that $100 investment on an omnibus like that is well worth it, because by the time that you look at all the expense and the time it takes to find those books, I think it's definitely worth it. I think. But I like hardcover books. I like that. You know, you and I have talked about that. Artist editions that are limited production. I love that for the library. And you can reread them without worrying about damaging the original comic, right?
True. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a balancing act, I guess. $100, considering that one comic would cost sometimes 10 times that, you know, one of the series. So the essentials you talk about, you talk about that a lot.
Yeah, those are gold. Those are brilliant, those books.
Yeah, and what did they cost them out the gate? What did they cost them?
They were £10.
Okay, well worth it. Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
You got that Watchmen omnibus, or what do you have? Watchmen.
With Watchmen, I've got the original 12 set that I bought at the time of release.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, which is more or less pristine because I only read it once, and then the graphic novel came out. But I also got Dave Gibbons' book, you know, about how he created it, because he's like me. He keeps all his roughs. He keeps every bit of paper.
Right.
I don't know whether you've seen that book. It's absolutely incredible.
I haven't.
He's got all the typescripts from Alan Moore. He's got all the roughs. You can see how he's worked.
You have that? Do you have that book?
Yeah.
We should do that. We should figure that out, how we could. Yeah. Why don't you if you've got, I mean, I'll order it. Maybe if I can still find it, maybe I'll order it. But yeah, that's go ahead. Sorry.
Let me I'll just get it. Just hang on a second.
Okay. Yep. But yeah, I think that is a I think that there's room for all kinds of comic book stores. I mean, it can be a pop culture boutique, or it could be just a comic book store that's literally you know, a couple guys just selling their collection. Oh yeah.
Watching the Watchmen. I mean, it's a really nice book.
Yeah. What let me blow that up. What year was that produced again?
It's only recent. It was in let's just see now. Probably about 10 years ago. I can't find it.
I'll see if I can get online.
I'll tell you, it is 2008.
Okay, watching the Watchmen.
So it's 15 years. But it really is good.
I've got the actual comics, the release series that came out. So, all right, yeah, I'll check that one out. And really that's the one that you were talking about with the all the notes.
It has. I'll just give you an example. This is just a random example of the roughs that he's got in there.
Oh yeah! Wow. Okay. Great.
That's the kid and the guy at the booth, isn't it? The newspaper booth.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you guys are listening to us on the audio podcast, you guys are missing out. Check us out on YouTube, Ted Davies Artistry.
But look what he does as well. This is really clever. He does roughs of all the pages. Just a second. He does roughs of the pages, and he says he squints at them so he can spot his blacks to see where they work in. Look at that.
Wow. Okay. That's great. And it's nice seeing them not in color. Man.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
It's wonderful. It's a really good book. I recommend that.
All right, will do. I will take your recommendation on that. Yeah, so I mean I think that what do you think? I mean, do you like going in and seeing some of the, I mean, even if you don't want to buy them, the collection of things, I mean, forget, what if it was old school? Say that they did a series of Kirby statues or something like that. Wouldn't that'd be cool, I think. Huh?
Yeah, it is. It's all great, but it's just, to me, the point's being lost. I mean, those comics were fun and entertaining, but now it's like everything else in the world. It's all gone to big money. Everything's about money, and it was always about money, I guess. But we don't seem to get as much quality these days, in my opinion, on things. But I think that they're missing out not reprinting all those things again, like in the essentials. I think they're missing out on a lot of money.
Yeah,
and I don't know why they don't. I don't know what the thing is. I think they seem to be zeroed into the films all the time and squeezing as much out of that as they can.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think that there's some room for that. I know that there's for instance, and a lot of, maybe it's licensing, maybe there's some issues there. Yeah, I don't know, but I know that with Hellboy, they're doing. I mean, Mike's constantly doing work with Dark Horse and that, and producing these. I mean, he's got a new one coming out, like the big Hellboy book or whatever it's called. And it's, it's limited edition. It's out for pre-order right now on Amazon, and he's doing it. I mean, he's really bringing in, some major stories and major things that he's done over the years. And it's all in one book. And it's like 1,500 pages. It's insane. It's great. I mean, it's fantastic. And that's, kind of the Hellboy Bible, if you will. And that kind of stuff I love, because that means that there's going to be more coming in the future, because there is money involved in it. I understand that totally. It's about profit, but also it's a one-stop shop. You can go in and you can pick out, okay, we know we got 10 stories or whatever it is in this book. We don't have to search for the Holy Grail, that was produced in 1994 and trying to find it. And you're spending absorbing an amount because it's there's FOMO involved, because nobody's got one, and I got to have that one. But you can still enjoy it. And then you got like we were watching. Give a shout out to Randy Zimmerman and his show. When you're on it and you look at the artist renditions, and it's all the artist editions, the full size 11 by 17s, and you're seeing the black and whites, and different from what the newsprint was. That's terrific. Yeah. That's truly a collector, but I think that you could have a whole comic shop full of both. I think you could have a comic culture boutique with these specialized graphic novels. I think you could do that. and I know there's not much margin on some of those graphic novels for the local guys to make money on, but you're going to get the older population in that's going to, you know, purchase these books. I think so. I like going into Barnes and Noble when they had that, you know, in all these borders or whatever, they had sections of graphic novels, the manga, everything. I love that. I love that because you could go in, you could sit down and kind of peruse these books. Man, I love that. You know, I didn't miss the comics in that regard at all, you know, because they had it was a bookshop, you know, it wasn't a comic shop. So
the last time I was in New York, I went into the Borders. It's obviously gone now because Borders went down, and we know how that affected me directly with Crikey.
Sure.
But I went in there many times. You know, I was coming over to America a lot in the aughts, and would always end up in New York somewhere. But I always tried to get to Borders because you could go into Borders, like you say. I could get a cup of tea or a coffee, and grab a book off a shelf and just sit down and read it. It's like being in the library, but you could have a drink. You know, we don't have drinks in our libraries, and it was great. And I always bought something as well. You know, it wasn't like I just went in for a free half an hour and just had a free read. You know, I always bought something. You know, and there's lots of stuff in there. I remember buying a book about Fleetwood Mac. You know, that kind of music thing. But obviously Borders went down, and I don't know whether anybody does that now. They may do. I don't know. Maybe I'll find out when I come over to New York.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't been to a bookstore in I don't know how long. I shop a lot online now. You know, I've been to comic book stores a lot.
Well, that's another reason for the change.
And the pandemic too. Everything happened.
Of course,
there,
well, a reset there, wasn't there? But it's a shame. I think I don't sort of hanker over it really. It's just as it is. I accept it. It's just as it is. But it's just a shame that all kind of communication, that touch you could do. It's all online now. You can get anything now. You can read anything, and less people read now. They can get anything, because when I was a kid, I had to go to the library. You know, to make a point going to the library. Now I can get it at the touch of a key. And nobody reads anyway. So, but anyway, that's just me.
I think we read. I think you're being a little bit sarcastic there, but I get what you're saying. But the one thing that I don't, that I enjoyed over the years is playing like D&D and other board games or whatever at comic shops, because it built up quite a community of people. The problem is that a lot of the comics book store owners didn't make any money. All these kids would come on as basically a daycare, and they'd get dropped off. The parents wouldn't give the kids any money, and that's a problem.
Well, I think
that perpetuates a lot of why we got to do you got to sell candy bars, you got to sell pop.
If I had a comic shop, I'd be out of business in a week, because I would want to do the old books and stuff like that. And
you're right, and that's what I'm getting at. That's exactly what I'm saying, and you're right. But I think that there's a definite niche for that. I think that there's a definite move.
But can you
ended up doing a very what's that?
Can you make the money you need? That's the bottom line, isn't it?
On the older books, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think that there's because it's all marketing when it comes down to it. You're behind me, you're looking at books that are 50 years old, some of them. And if you put those on a shelf in a shop, they would sell. Absolutely, they'd sell, no matter what the grade was, depending on what the price point is.
But would they sell for the right reason? Would somebody think, Captain America number 103, I'll get that, not because they wanted it, but because they wanted to, because it might be worth something later?
Well, I mean, that's up to them. That's collecting. I mean, you and I, it's a different thing. You and I, it's a different thing. And a lot of us that listen to this, it's a different thing. We look at it it's not from an investment standpoint. Okay, great. We make money later on it. Awesome. We're looking at it for what it is, the value. What was Kirby thinking at that time when he was writing? It's the backstory of the story, maybe. And on a lot of it, for me, that's what I look for.
I think he was probably thinking that's $50 extra.
I can do this. I can buy this. Well, maybe. But I mean, you might be able to answer that better than anybody. With your background with Jack. But I just think that there's
I think he was enjoying exactly what he was doing. He loved it, and he was getting well paid as well. Let's put it that way. So it's like a win-win for him.
Sure. I think that there's room for all of it. I think that there's room for the collecting comic book store. I think it's the new comics, because there is a generation that's coming up that are enjoying the new comics. I know, I've seen it. I've seen the lines on Free Comic Book Day.
Well, you see,
at the local shops here. I know that there's an influx of new kids that are involved in it, and I'm excited to see that.
But don't forget, it seems I don't know why they don't sell the old stuff, because two things can happen. I go in and buy the old stuff,
yeah,
and I see the new stuff and might be impressed enough to buy that. So it's a draw. Not with a pencil, but a drawing in.
Yeah, drawing.
Right?
Yeah,
a draw.
Yeah.
So, but then the younger kids go in for their new kind of superhero or whatever, and they go in and see the old stuff, see where it came from, so they might purchase it. So it works both ways. But now I can only go into my local Forbidden Planet and buy new stuff, or £100 a time deluxe editions.
Okay,
which. I think it's counterproductive, and I think it'll be so. I think they should sell both. But then again, let's be fair. You've got that Captain America, those Kirby Captain Americas behind you there. There can't be many of those left to go into Forbidden Planet, because there's only a finite amount of publishing of them.
Well, especially in the UK, you had a smaller.
Yeah, but there was
print
only
run. You had smaller shops. It's a
yes,
island.
but there was only. I don't know how many of that Captain America behind you were printed, but there were only a finite amount.
Probably. I mean, but in the United States, I'm sure we had a lot. I mean,
yes,
and then you got other countries that they were printed in. And, you know, I don't know. We can check it online. I'm sure we know what the print run. We can check it. I know in the census of how many they've got.
I think those things were like 250,000 copies per month.
Yeah.
I seem to remember it. Used to have a little bar in the Stan's Soapbox page, and it used to give the publishing details, and it used to say print run 240,000 on Captain America, things like that. All
right, we should check that out.
Yeah, it might well be in one of those on your shelf there.
And I'll double check that. I haven't noticed it, to be honest with you. Yeah. So I mean, we're getting about 30 minutes now, but I think that's a good start of this debate. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Let's throw it out to the audience. I know this is a pre-recorded session, but, do you like the old type of local comic shops that just sell comic books, whether old, new, whatever? Or do you like the whole pop culture event, whether they sell Funko Pops, posters, statues, everything, memorabilia or merchandise wise? I mean, how do you balance it out? Let us know, because we would love to find out what the survey says, because I think there's room for it. I think there's room for both. But you got to find what resonates with you, because I think that there's definite. I enjoy seeing all of the things. Doesn't mean I want to invest in it. And I don't think it's really. I think things just change. It's like the cars, classic cars. Being in Detroit, some people love classic cars here. Some can't stand them. They think that they're just the oil burners. They're they pollute the earth. We only want to go, electric, brand new.
Well, they are, and they do, but they're still nice.
Right. And then there's other people that love them because they can work on them, and they can enjoy them, and they can hand them down to their kids. Well, same goes with comics in a lot of people's cases. So it's really, to each their own. So I think that there's room for it, though, and I understand the local comic shops having to make money. And if they need to bring in a Funko Pop or a variant cover or whatever, so be it. So be it. Far be it for me to deter that.
But it's like you said, there's room for it all. There's room for everything on the world, on the earth. There's room for everything. There's room for everybody's opinion and all that kind of thing. So my question is to the comic shops, why they're not trying to get this old stuff back in there or doing something with it? Because that's the source material, and and as far as I'm concerned, it's the best.
Well, and I think that there are some that they just specialize in that, which I think's fantastic. That's all they specialize in, is just the vintage stuff. I think that's dynamic. That's a great. I think nostalgia is the way to be. I think that's a great business model. I really do.
Nostalgia isn't what it used to be.
Well, that's pretty profound. I mean, Glenn said it here. You know what?
It's a joke.
We're nostalgia, bro. So that's
of course, yeah.
Right? So speaking of which, check out everything that's going on with Comics Unlimited. You'll see some nostalgia in this as well. check us out on Amazon. And also, this podcast is going to be on Amazon as well. So go to Amazon Music, check out Ted Davies Artistry, and check out what Amazon's doing too, because it might help us out too. That would be great. That would be awesome if you guys would be part of that. So thanks again, man, for stopping in to our local comic shop here and making some things happen. I appreciate you greatly, Glenn. You're always bring a lot to the conversation.
You too.
Thanks, man. Try to have a good week, and I'm going to read some of these comics back here.
I'm just looking at those 4 Kirby's you've got. I want those. just send them. Oh, I've got the Eternals. I used to have them all, as you know, but I've got that one. But that's number 1, isn't it? But,
yeah, you can. When you come over, you can read them.
Yeah,
so I'll let you read them. Okay.
Sid Shaw's inking. What a guy.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks again.
See you soon. See you, everybody.
Welcome to the Comics Unlimited podcast with your hosts, Glenn B. Fleming and Ted Davies.